Hey all, Hipper here. So we're continuing the Battleship theme here just for a little bit, just to be a little bit different. And it's Bart today, so I have Megatron on my Gepard here, as well as Revel for inspirations. And then I have Brawler, and then I have Crisscross, and then I have the best one, Megalomania. This one is just nuts. Minus 10% reload and 25% reduction in the time you're spotted, which is awesome. Then I put a little bit more range on. I could go with Master Mechanic as well. I kind of flip back and forth between them. But in this case here, I go with range. And then I have running with scissors on. Mainly for the increased damage when I have an ally close to me. I don't really care about the active effect. I don't use Will to Rebuild because it's rare I actually get to use it. So I stick with the other one. So if we have a look on the ship itself, then in the first slot I go with aiming systems, and then I have rudder, not propulsion, and then I have obviously target acquisition, and then the improved reload. And I have two main battery reload boosters, which is nice, but look here, artillery 99, so I have 17 range and 17 reload, so that's really good. I think that's the sweet spot. And AA defense is also 100, so yeah. If anyone thought this ship was a little bit overpowered, well, I think it is. It has two stats maxed out. Yeah, a little bit silly. And I remember when this ship first came out. I can't remember how long ago it was, but it was a long time ago. And everybody was playing it for a long time. And yeah, I mean, I don't blame people because it is probably, if not the best, Battleship is one of the absolute best ones. Because like a 17-second reload on this thing here is just nuts, I think. It's a little bit too much, to be honest. And the AA means that nobody can really touch it. There's also no need to be good at not showing your broadside and stuff like that, because all the guns are at the front of the ship. So where you point the ship is where you have 100% of your firepower, which makes it super easy to play, like really easy to play. And along with the fast reload and the main battery reload boost, when you get the opportunity, this ship here is just nasty. And is it overpowered? I don't know. I mean, I don't really mind facing it myself because it has low caliber guns and it's really vulnerable to HE. And it's not as powerful as people say it is, but that's not saying that it's not powerful, because it is. Like I said, it is probably one of the absolute most powerful battleships in the game. And of course, it is a premium ship that was given away. Well, not given away, but you were able to get it by completing the campaign back in, I think it was sometime in 2020, but I really can't remember. So if you noticed my commander screen before, I have like 87,000 XP or something on this game here, which is means that I haven't played it a lot, and I haven't. I took it out a handful of times when it first came out, and I just thought it was like a silly ship. So I haven't really touched it, other than the odd game once in a while. And then I probably played 10 or 12 games today, which is like by far the most I've ever played this ship here. And I'm not gonna say it's not fun, because it is fun. It requires very little, I'm not gonna say thinking, but it requires very little effort to to do well. If you just play a little bit, a little bit smart, you will do well in this ship here, and you will do at least 100,000 damage every game. And if you're not carrying your team, then you are definitely making a huge contribution. So definitely a good ship, absolutely, but a little bit on the easy side to play, I think. It really, in all honesty, I could just sit in the spawn, pretty much in the ship. I don't have to push forward, but I'm still doing it. and you can just sit there and you can just look for broadsides. And I've done that in a few other battles today, and it works well, but my goodness, it's boring. And I mean, battleships are already boring, I think, but like this is one of the more interesting ones, because it's just so easy to do well in it. So it makes you feel good. But like compared to something like Bismarck, which I was also playing today, which is like far more of a challenging ship to actually do something good in. So like I said, Jean-Bart, yeah, just it's not a challenge, I think. But that being said, it's also not a boring ship to play, at least compared to other battleships. In Hipper and Atago and pretty much any cruiser, also Edinburgh, Jean-Bart and Richelieu, they're one of my favorite battleships to run into, because like their caliber guns are just so low that it's quite easy to not get hurt, basically, and they are just pretty soft. If you can get at the sides, you can citadel them pretty easily, especially in Hipper. That thing is just made for taking these things on. So I'm not saying that this is a ship that will make you a good player at all. Like every other ship, it's all the captain that makes the difference, basically. And of course you can get one shot in this thing as well. It's not a problem at all. And you can get torped instantly and all the usual stuff. So it's a powerful ship, yes. And in the right hands, perhaps it's a little bit overpowered. But if you have the ship in your game, you somehow picked it up a year ago and you haven't really played it, probably not many of you out there, because I think everybody has played this ship, then take it out again and give it a whirl. So we've cleaned out the flank here, and that went very painless, actually. Good work by the destroyer. He was a really good spotter. So instead of heading for the enemy base, I will go back to our own base, because I think that we are going to have to fight hard for it. I don't have much faith in what's going on down here, so let's go down and have a look. And as I thought, someone is actually capturing the base. So this is always something you have to consider on Two Brothers. Once you win the flank, does it make sense to continue? Will you leave your teammates to fight overwhelming odds down at the blue base? Always think about that before you steam into the red base. And in most cases, the right answer is to go back and defend your base, especially if you're ahead on points like we are now. It is tempting to go for the enemy base, but in a situation like this, this game can go either way. We are only up by one ship, and there's nothing is certain, and they are starting to cap our base. So it's a good thing I decided to turn around. So if you don't have Jean-Bart, you can always get Richelieu in the French Tech tree. I mean, they are very, very similar. Yeah, you don't get the reload boost, but yeah, it doesn't really matter that much. Especially if you use the build I have, where you have 17-second reload anyway. It doesn't really, it doesn't help much. If I could pick a spotter plane instead of the main reload boost, I would do that definitely. But obviously I can't. I can only pick the reload boost or the secondary boost, which is, I have no need for that. So main reload boost it is. So this is one of those moments where I am thanking something for the fact that I'm not in a cruiser, because I hate facing an Amagi at end game if I'm in a cruiser, because I always get focused, which makes sense, and the Amagi AP is just so nasty. It's so undervalued. I think it's probably even nastier than pretty much any other battleship except for Yamato. and like there's just something about Amaji and the shell trajectory and like the dispersion. It's just a really naughty ship if you're in a cruiser. But this time I am not in a cruiser. I am in Jean Bart, and I have 100% of my firepower in the front. And obviously that gives me an advantage here because the Amaji is like has its firepower spread across with actually 3 of the 5 turrets in the back. So to get all turrets off, he will have to show broadside and actually play a little bit like with some finesse. While I here on the other hand, I can just sit here and do nothing except shoot him, and then when he bow tanks, I switch to HE, and that's it. So not the most exciting ship to play, other than the fact that you tend to do well in it. And I've taken up this position here because the Atago isn't able to torp me here. And if the capture of the base gets a little bit too red, then I can always just sail in and at least delay it a little bit. But I would like to get this Amaji out of the way first. So we're just going to get at him with HE as long as we can. And there was a high caliber there. So in this sense it's very, yeah, a little bit dry actually. If I was in a cruiser and this was the fight, this would be like a total like fight for your life, because just one shell from Amaji would totally wreck a cruiser. But in this case here, I just have to out DPM him basically. I'm not even moving, so it's one of the reasons that I don't play battleships so much. I do enjoy them, but like after a while, this kind of stale gameplay here, it just gets to me, and I need some action, and I need some torps flying around, and I need some incoming shells to dodge, and like I need stuff to go on in the game. Like these kind of protracted stalemates here is like, oh, it's not something that I enjoy. But Jean Bart is really good at this, because obviously the gun layout is just made for this. The only problem is if the enemy player has like enough luck or skill, whatever you want to call it, to actually hit your guns and take them out of action. And you can see this guy is aiming for my guns, which is a reason that perhaps instead of the main battery mod in the first slot, you could take the modification that gives your guns a little bit more oomph, so they last longer. I haven't actually had them taken out a lot. It's usually Baltimore's that do it, but it does happen, and it's really annoying when it does, because it's 50% of your firepower gone, or even 100% if you are really unlucky. So finally we have burnt this thing down here, and that took a long time, and it was pretty dry, let's be honest. So we have an Atago left, and he should have run away a long time ago, I think, but I think he was hoping that the Amaji would somehow outtrade me. But the problem now is, if this Atago gets away, then I will lose the battle, because suddenly we are actually behind on points. So we cannot let this guy escape. If he gets out of concealment range, then he will probably disappear forever, and I cannot keep up with him. And again, because I play cruisers so much, I end up grounding myself. I do that all the time in these battleships here, because I'm just used to be able to go a lot closer to the islands in cruisers, and obviously you cannot do that in battleships. So have to reverse and then try again, and that's another thing about battleships. It takes so long to get going, so they're definitely not agile. So this is probably the last chance I get to wipe this guy from the map, and luckily we take him out. So that was Jean Bart here with the Gepard build, and I don't use an agile build on this ship because it doesn't work. Very few battleships work with agile builds. Alright, so I hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you out there.